Hey guys, it's Will. Hopefully you're having a great day today. We're tuned in here live this afternoon. It is Wednesday, August 20th, and we're looking at the market after what was a pretty roller coaster day. How many of you guys felt that way today? We saw what was a big dip here at market open this morning in most stocks, and then everything kind of pushing up green after hours, or maybe not everything, but definitely a lot of the AI market saw some recoveries and green days to jump in really quick. We're going to do a breakdown on CTM stock. We're going to do a breakdown on some AI companies, Big Bear. We'll probably jump in a little bit into some of the bigger tech as there's been some recent developments that have been interesting to watch. If you guys have any ticker symbols you want me to cover, things like that, feel free to drop them in the live chat in the comment down below. You can always drop it there, and I would be more than happy to answer any questions or any ticker symbols you got going. Marcus says sale over. I'm not sure exactly what you mean. Maybe you mean the sale for the market when things sold off this morning. There was a sale this morning. We did see that this morning at market open. Really good example, I think, would be jumping into Big Bear, for example, or CTM. I think even AMD ended the day up after what was a big sell-off this morning. So yeah, sale this morning. Speaking of sales, we have the Stockmate sale happening that we're piecing together some new things. It might seem like sometimes we're quiet, but we are building so many things right now as a team and working on so many things, from the software, which we can jump into as well. We've been building out this, just working with the team. We got developer Ryan Potts, who's actually a member of the YouTube channel. We have just an amazing growth that you guys might not see, but it kind of comes in waves with some of the different developments we have right now in Stockmates and in Mercatus. One of the things we're changing is our model for Mercatus or for Stockmates. So if you ever want to watch the live sessions, get those reminders each morning, or get access to learning technical fundamental analysis, things like that, there is, I think it's the first link down below. The lifetime access is closing on the 1st of September. So if you want to grab that lifetime access, it is going away here. So that's something to consider. If you want to see our daily live trading, happens tomorrow. So it'd be tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. Pacific time, which is 9:30 Eastern time, right when the market opens. We'll be there. Steven says, today I became a Washington Commanders fan. All right, so let's jump in to CTM. Carl says DUOT. Sinbad says, are most sell-offs in this period opportunities to buy rather than signs of weakening market? Yeah, I guess the philosophy that we have a lot of times is based on all of the companies that we would trade short term. We are also investing in long term. And we don't make any trades in companies that we wouldn't already look at long term. The beauty of that, and what we found has been really innovative about that strategy as investors, is that there's no FOMO, there's no fear of missing out, there's no emotional turmoil that's faced, where sometimes a lot of people, they buy stocks. And I always ask, like, why is this such a thing that always happens on YouTube? People buy stocks they don't understand for hype or for just a quick buck, and end up holding the stock, and they don't even like the stock, or the stock doesn't even have any real value. It was just hyped up, something like that. And so we do things differently here on the channel. Like, we definitely, if you're looking for a shorter term play, we absolutely trade short term all the time, but we do it in companies that we would be okay and would want to own for 3, 5, 10 years. It's just the integrity way that we like to run it. It just depends on your style, I guess. Marcus says TIGR could go through. We'll take a look there, Marcus. Steven says, Socher. Steven Socher says, Big Bear is on offense. They're going to design plays. Big Bear AI is going to get sick exposure from the home playoff games. When the Commanders win the whole thing, BBAI will hoist the trophy. Steven, your creative optimism on Big Bear AI is super entertaining. And it is an interesting play that they signed Big Bear to be a part of some of their stadium setup. I would imagine they're going to be doing the like facial recognition there. Wouldn't that make more sense? They do the facial recognition than just a sponsor. And then that kind of opens the door for them to go into many stadiums and probably, work their way into what could be impact in the World Cup. And there's some good comments there. We'll jump back in there. Michael says Powell will be speaking on CNBC on Friday that more selling tomorrow since market's still overbought, that everyone is upset at Powell. Okay. You could see it. Touch My Crispy says they are more worried about inflation over unemployment. So they're not going to cut rates. I also think more unemployment means less inflation too. Not necessarily. Because a lot of times if there's unemployment, that could lead to economic distress. And what happens in economic distress, they might do stimulus, which now you have a stagflation problem where you have more inflation or lack of trust or something like that, in the U.S. economy would then basically lead to people not relying on dollars as much, and they would lose a little bit of their value, and that would cause inflation. So actually, I don't think more unemployment means less inflation. Personally, I don't think that would be the way. Hey, what's going on, Steven? Yeah, that's funny. All the football players start investing in Big Bear AI, right? All right. So here's a CTM stock. So CTM pulled back today. We've really been covering it since under $1 a share, really since about 60, 70 cents, somewhere in here. We've seen it really start to get some momentum, build its market cap over basically all of 2025. It's slowly, steadily built this market cap up. We did see, I think we have some drawings here. It was building market cap, recently consolidated. We see did hit that support level pretty strong at about $9 or 95 cents, excuse me, just under $1 a share at 95 cents. It bounced. So today, that's a pretty key level that we want to watch with CTM, because I think if we zoom out as well, they're right down at the 200-day moving average, which if they break below the 200-day moving average, that's not going to be too good. That's going to change the overall direction. Probably could see them, become more bearish. Right now, they're bullish, and we like to potentially look for this trade. We'll have to see market directions. But again, I'm in a long-term position on CTM. I have been since about 87 cents, and we continue to hold through the highs and lows. But we do trade it in the short term quite often. Sometimes we get these 20, 30, 40% swings. I would look for a bounce here around $1. See if we get more confirmation. See if we see more of a bounce at that level that could potentially make it up to that $1.50 range is really where we'd like to see it go again. Now, right now, again, watching that 200-day moving average, if we see a break below 95 cents, then we're not looking so hot on CTM. We got to reevaluate the support levels, see where it's at, if that's the case. Overall, though, kind of sentiment's pretty good because we look at CTM, they're building agentic AI. And we'll get into the financials. Okay, Backcountry Air says SATL. The chart is juicy. We'll take a look. Marcus says if unemployment is due to AI, then would cutting rates help? No, it would not. Because cutting rates is for people that are starting businesses, that want to buy homes, that want to get lending, that want to get loans. If there's a problem with unemployment due to AI, the problem wouldn't be solved with cutting rates. The problem would have to be solved by figuring out either that individual needs to figure out if they're unemployed, or a greater effort has to be made by the government to ensure that those people that are employed are staying employed. And that's where, school system, public system, libraries, they got to learn, they got to go to the library, they got to pick up skills, they got to learn how to solve problems in the marketplace. They're, yeah, I mean, I do everything digital. I'm not replaced by AI. A lot of my business, with the exception of some real estate, which we do. We do run real estate as well, and that's not really AI at all. That's basically like, you know, buying and fixing homes and renting them out. But like as someone that does a lot of their stuff digital, like unemployment due to AI is not due to AI. It's due to people having the skills and knowing how to provide value to the marketplace. And that's how they'll be compensated, not because of cutting rates or something like that. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. So, um, what we're looking at for Castellum Inc., we saw them come out with some focus on agentic AI. They had $100 million contract that we have seen them hold on to. They recently also announced today or yesterday this new article. It's a reseller agreement with TNI to resell their products to Castellum's clients. TNI's Guard Tower AI. Guard Tower AI. What is this? Looks pretty interesting. Okay. Very weird. Tradewinds Network. Guard Tower AI. We'll take a look at it. Something's a little weird there. But we'll have to dive deeper. But Castellum Inc., from a revenue perspective, has been really good. They're increasing their revenue every single quarter and annually. They're on track right now to come in over their annual estimates. Their balance sheet has also seen increases in their total assets there and growing right now. So their balance sheet looks good. The market cap, $93 million market cap right now. It is pretty low for their very consistent financials and disciplined balance sheet, along with their contracts that have them on track to, basically make more than their market cap in the next 18 months, which is, pretty good for them. So when it comes down to their value, that's what it looks like. We see them sell down to that 98-cent range. They have consolidated now. If there is a break below that 200-day moving average at 95 cents, you know what that means. Got to reassess, see if we got new supports, things like that. But we continue to hold it. Personally, I'm going to continue to hold it, potentially buy if we see more opportunities that present themselves. So the next one that we have on the list for today, there's a couple stocks we'll have to get into. We did a video earlier today on Big Bear AI. If you want the breakdown on that AI company, I could go ahead and drop the link for you in the chat. Basically, what we went over today with Big Bear was very simply, they signed this new contract, which was kind of out of left field. And the contract was with, let's pull it up. So after hours, they were down. They had a recovery. They ended the day around 550 a share. I see their movement today. They're trying to hold this level here around 550. And Big Bear essentially, had a new deal where they are focusing on. We know they're doing the very scan and they're doing all the technology for TSA and in the airports, and they're in LA and Denver International Airport, JFK. But they had an interesting article come out today for their AI tech. It's a partnership with the Washington Commanders. So Washington D.C. has a team. They're an NFL team, formerly the Washington Redskins. You guys may know them. They are having a partnership. I think they're naming one of their facilities Big Bear Performance Center, and in their world, they're doing fifth floor suite level Northwest Stadium suites, entrances to the stadium on the team's practice jerseys, on the other key assets. Big Bear will continue exploring opportunities where the company's technology and expertise can enhance the fan experience in ways that align with the organization's shared goals and the framework established by the NFL. That is kind of interesting, right? Kind of interesting. Way out of like left field from what we normally expect, but not something they haven't announced before. A lot of things that they've talked about in the past have been related to mega events. You could see a month ago they were talking about, hey, FIFA World Cup is coming up. The 2008 Olympics are coming up. These are coming to America, and leaders across government and industry have a rare opportunity to advance national security, elevate the traveler experience. In this specific article, they were talking about public perception and security. And I don't know if it's particularly exclusive to TSA, but it seemed like that was kind of what they were talking about, maybe like in the airports, but they're kind of going directly to stadiums now, which is an interesting take. This is actually quite aggressive because like one thing that happens, like if you look at a company like Leidos, for example, we know that Leidos goes and they do the scanners right at the airports where you can get those scanners that scan you when you walk through. Big Bear is doing the biometrics here with the very scan and the true face. Rather than just waiting for TSA contracts, they went directly to the gates of the airlines, and they partnered with the airlines and said, hey, Delta Airlines or Frontier Airlines or American Airlines or whoever, we could put a scanner here so that it automatically logs in your customer, your passengers, and you just boom, you go straight to. So it's kind of interesting. Could we see what would be a growth? That's the other thing that's interesting too, Steven. Steven says, guys, in those suites, there's high level intelligence, guys. And that was one of the things we talked about that I was thinking. I'm like, they're kind of going the news route here of we're going to build relationships. I mean, look, if they're going to be in the Big Bear AI Performance Center and they're doing this, are they going to like? They're in Washington D.C. Is that a coincidence that they decide to go with Washington D.C. as the NFL team they choose to work with? I mean, it's going to be a fairly patriotic place. Steven has a point there. The people that go here are probably going to be people that are in the government. It's kind of a relationship play, if you will, if I've ever seen one. I mean, seems that way. It's not a bad take. So that's kind of the level we're watching with Big Bear, $5.50. It did hold there. We haven't taken any short-term trades recently on Big Bear because of the volatility we've been watching. We have long-term holds at $2.80 average. We actually got our $2.80 average back here December 2024, and we continue to add on this dip, and we just hold our Big Bear shares and then occasionally trade the shorter term swings. And recently we've seen some pretty volatile movement over here in Big Bear in these shorter term swings. We're seeing it trying to hold that $5.50 range. If it can hold, excellent. If not, that's what it looks like, down to 520 again. So we'll see if they can break above that SMA. How many of you guys are looking at stocks right now and you have some stocks that you believe are really the future and you're looking at them very optimistically? And how many of you guys have ever, been looking at the market recently and you're like, I have no idea what's going on and I feel stuck and what am I going to do? Am I going to hold? Am I going to buy? Blah, blah, blah. Comment in the comment section. Let me know. How many of you guys have that feeling? Either you feel certainty in the companies you're in or you're uncertainty. So if you want to comment certain or uncertain, you let me know. How do you feel? Do you feel confident? Do you not feel confident? Let me know. So SPDFRK18 says CLYM. That's a ticker. So we'll jump into them. I'm going to start with Crazy Carl here. Crazy Carl says DUOT, Duos Technology. Let's take a look. All right, what's going on with this stock, Crazy Carl? What do you got going? So this stock IPO'd back here 2015, sold off down to $1 a share. Ever since has kind of consolidated from left to right and trying to build an uptrend right now. It recently sold down pretty aggressively with the greater market. We see it have a trend here since September 2024 that's been pretty consistently uptrending. Kind of looks something like this. Now it's in a downtrend holding below that EMA, that blue line, which is going to act as a resistance right now. It would act as a support if it's bullish, but right now it's acting as a resistance. So what would be the focus for this stock, Carl? You got to add a support maybe. You're looking at a 200-day moving average. Maybe it can find some support. Let's see what market they are in. So you got DUOT. Duos Technology is $116 million market cap. Very small company, so I would urge caution anybody watching. You got revenue of about 7 or 8 million a quarter with negative net income of about 5 million a quarter, with negative net income of about -3 to -2, somewhere in there. They are seeing the income statement heat up recently with their revenue in this last quarter almost totaling their entire annual revenue that they've had the previous year. So their revenue is up 279% year over year, and net income is down about -9%, so they lost a little. The balance sheet, let's take a look at it, Carl. So, assets a little bit volatile. We see them at an all-time high, but along with the liabilities at an all-time high yearly, that's how it looks. In June, they got their total assets up to 31 million and their liabilities are at 26 million. So their liabilities did rise there year over year, but only about 43%, while their assets rose about 46%. So overall, fairly disciplined, but pretty high on the liability side right now. Surprised they don't just pay down that debt. But that's how it looks now. So Duos Technology, let's take a look at the company. Duos Tech. Let's see their product. Duos Energy Corporation, powering the future, sustainable energy solutions for EDCs and in industries. Right. Rail car inspection. Duos Technologies. Their clients aren't loading. There we go. Amtrak. Okay. CN, you got CPKC, CSX, Department of Homeland Security. Looks like they got industries in rail cars mostly, inspection portals, and they have something related to AI that is a visual inspector, automation, remote inspection. Okay, so they can spring up these big towers that can do what do they do? Reduced dwell time, increased system velocity, undercarriage examiner. Oh, interesting. Okay, so like security for rail cars. Interesting. Okay. I feel like there's a demand there. It's a little strange, but I feel like there is a demand. It's just a little bit different than what we normally cover. We're normally in AI, which is, I guess, they're kind of using AI here as their goal. Joint initiative here. They're working with Fiberlight. Okay, interesting. Not anything that's like, it's kind of bland, which could be good. Smaller company. Pretty volatile. If they can't hold this $5.50 range, looking pretty bearish. They just crossed below that 200-day moving average recently, holding below that EMA line. So the overall trend right now, while it's up, is looking a little bit dire unless they can bounce this rising support and potentially continue that upward direction. Otherwise, we could see a sell-off. Financials looked okay. Income looked better, pretty good, but the balance sheet was not that disciplined. So that's kind of how that looked. Just too much assets, or too many liabilities to their assets. All right, so we got someone says, any updates on RGTI? So let's take a look. RGTI today. Let's take a look at Quantum. Rigetti was up 1% towards the end of the day. Let's see what we got going. They're down to that support level, that rising support level that we've been mapping out on Rigetti for a while. Looks like they bounced today at this rising support. So we kind of were conservative in our estimates last time. We said they're selling down, they're selling down. Maybe we could see them sell as low as this $14 range. They sold as low as $13.76 today, or looks like yesterday. And then today they sold as low as $13.97, and they're starting to bounce maybe. So overall trend looks good. Shorter term is definitely a little more uncertain with Rigetti though, because they're a really highly volatile company in the quantum space. They've seen a nice market cap build, but we do know that they move pretty quickly. And so watching this rising support level is key. What I'd look for if we're going to trade it, we'd look for a bounce here. And we'd have to have a little more confirmation. Right now, it's kind of trying to push above this EMA, this blue line. Last time when we got more confirmation, we got a nice push up and we started to see this move and we could catch it. And it's like a 10-20% move that would be on RGTX about almost twice as much, which you could see that there over on RGTX. So we could watch this level, kind of see how they hold that rising support and look for what could be a recovery. But again, still no confirmation. I'd look for a little bit more of a bounce because this company is up into some serious multiples. When we look at Rigetti from a market perspective, they're great on the long term. When we look at Rigetti from a product perspective, they're extremely innovative. I mean, this is a quantum computing company that's building these quantum computers with the most innovative minds in the world in Berkeley, California. From QPU is their focus, and they're working with NASA, Oxford Instruments, AWS, and Microsoft. And they have the Anka 3 system, which is the single qubit gates, 99.9% fidelity, which we've seen their fidelity go up, which means as they improve their fidelity, it means that their individual qubits become more efficient and that they can do things like error correction and make sure that their qubits are operating how they want them to be. And as they increase their fidelity, which they have consistently, they're allowed to add more qubits. So right now they're up to 82 qubits right now. And they're always expanding right now. Almost every quarter they've been expanding. When they surpass GPU use case would be around 500 to 1,000 qubits. So that's kind of their approach right now. Now, when it comes to their usage, they're also on Microsoft. If you go directly to Microsoft, you could tap into them through the cloud. If you're a developer, you want to try and use these quantum computers. And the financial side of things, market cap wise, this is where I say they are at a pretty high range. And so it's good to have a plan. Like long term, it's fine. If you're able to ride dips and you don't mind if it goes down and up, but 5 years from now, you want to be holding a potentially really innovative tech company, sure, makes sense. From a shorter term perspective, you just got to be a little bit more on it. You got to be watching it most days, be monitoring, have a plan in place where you know exactly where you're going to buy and sell. Same thing's true if you plan on taking a ship out into the ocean. You want to know where you want to end up on the harbor, where you're going to, what pier you want to end up at, so you're not just in the middle of the ocean not knowing what to do, right? Same thing if you're going to do a plumbing job and you want to make sure you do your plumbing job right and not just like go through and have a bunch of piping and things are leaking. You got to have a plan before. It's the same with everything. So you need a plan together. I'm going to be going to the gym and like probably right after this. As soon as I'm done, I got a whole plan. I know exactly what I'm doing from day to day, 5 days a week. Those are the types of plan you need to get disciplined results, to get good results. And so on the short term, be careful. Know that you need that in place really, really well to trade Rigetti confidently and make money. And so their market cap's at 4.7 billion. They haven't seen their revenue increase. They are still in a lot of research phase with their net income negative. The thing that pushes them and why investors are investing more, why big banks are buying Rigetti, Vanguard is buying Rigetti, BlackRock is buying them. So the biggest banks, State Street, what have you, is because they're buying the future. They're buying what could be. And while there's potentially a development that would be as breakthrough and monumental as something as the GPU, quantum computing is seen that way in early stages. So the financials on the income statement don't look good, but you might say, okay, well, they have a net income negative. If they're losing money, are they done? They're not a good investment, right? Not really. They're actually a good investment long term. And the reason why we could say that is because of the technology they're developing, but also their balance sheet. You could see that they have money that they're holding. They have cash right now, about $636 million of assets that they have, and total liabilities at $83 million. They mentioned in their last earnings call, and Aaron says, great advice. Glad you're here, Aaron. Thanks for tuning in. And Evie is here. What's going on? We already talked about CTM. We already did. Tyler says, Paladin, cheap and looking like at a bottom, risky, though, with the Jackson Hole stuff. Yeah, I got to get up to date on that. Saw some headlines on that. Not really sure, though. I'm pretty ignorant on Paladin. June 2025, they come out with earnings, and their assets are up. And they say in their earnings call that they don't expect to spend as much as they have in the last quarter. So maybe, just maybe, their negative net income is not as much in the next quarter, and we see them continue to build some assets. So for a quantum computing company, that's part of investing in it, right? Long term, there's more certainty than the short term, and that's part of why we love the stock, because we like that future. But we also are very aggressive sometimes. Like when we trade these moves, we've traded some of these Rigetti moves, and it's gone up 20% in a day sometimes. And in those moves, we've also traded RGTX, which is the double, so it goes up 40%. So we trade it kind of aggressively and on offense, but we also have defense. We have very good defense. We always have our stop losses set. I don't even have really a 50% win rate. Sometimes I lose more than 50% of my trades. Not always, but sometimes I do. I lose more than 50% sometimes. And so having our stop losses set and having a plan, like we talked about, is the difference between making money and keeping money versus losing money and losing a lot of money. So the goal is to not lose money and also make money. So that's kind of the plan you need when you're on the shorter term with Rigetti. So that is how we do it. So Evie says, did we talk about CTM? I think the CTM support that we mapped out was at 95 cents. If it breaks below 95 cents, tomorrow or something like that, then we could see a break below that 200-day moving average, which would not be good. So just kind of got to watch there that 95-cent range there on CTM. That's what's going on. But yeah, I'm holding CTM long term. I still have all my holds on CTM now. And there was a new article that came out too that we kind of went through. Alex says, I took a 10K share position at $12.08 on Sound today. So you bought SoundHound stock today. Awesome, Alex. Well, I wonder what time you bought, because after market open this morning, they were dipping and then they had a really nice recovery. So they actually went up about 87 cents. So it's possible that Mr. Alex made $8,700 today if you bought a dip that was nice. Does that sound about right? Oh, you said 1208. Yeah, it's about right. Nice entry, man. That's an excellent play. Now, when it comes to the growth that we've seen on SoundHound, we've kind of talked about some of these levels. We talked about a very nice support, but then we talked about, hey, what if it sells down more? It did break back above this EMA, so it's kind of looking bullish, right? And maybe reversing, but it's also trying to maybe get rejected by this EMA. So, same thing is true that we kind of went over with the plan there. It is one that if you are buying it, you would want to have a plan in place, very clearly set up for the short term. Now, first trade in a week and a half, Alex says, awesome. That's good. It means that you missed some of the choppiness, right? That's a good entry down there for what you've made so far. So we see the company SoundHound, for example, build some new partnerships. If I'm not mistaken, they potentially could be a contender to have the McDonald's voice. Now, I don't ever eat McDonald's. Maybe in Latin America, it's a little healthier down there. Latin America is not as bad as the US when it comes to food quality. It depends where you're at, but in most cases. And so what I found is that they are one of the top companies for Hyundai, for Kia, for Genesis, for even Chipotle, and they got partnerships with NVIDIA, Oracle, Food and Beverage. They're even working with some financial institutions on voice AI. And so they've kind of had a similar quarter to that of Big Bear in the past. They at one point reported a way bigger negative net loss than Big Bear around the same time. And then they came in with net income positive, revenue positive, and then kind of cleaned it up the last few quarters a little bit. And they got cash. Their balance sheet is up there. Their market cap is at $5 billion. So it would indicate that if they're going to continue in their current valuation with what they're doing, it's much more, again, buying what could be. So while Alex, you're in a big position there and it's going well, I'm gonna have to let my dog out. She says, let's go. It's still one to approach with a little caution. There you go. She's looking at me. Sun's setting here in Northern California. It was really hot today, probably 90 degrees outside or something like that. So my dog was inside for a while. And she also she had a surgery a while back. So she got a cone on her head. So I'm there for her. If I gotta go let the door out or let the door open, right? Yeah, so Alex, that's kind of the play there. That's what I would say for SoundHound. I really like where they're going though. It's a really great long-term approach, but yeah, in the short term, they are kind of in this downtrend on the move. It's possible they're breaking out where you bought a nice dip, kind of an advanced trade. If we're trading a downtrend like that, like how you bought, we would probably be looking for kind of a sell or a pretty tight stop once we get up into that lowering resistance. So it's a downtrend again that you traded, right? So you bought the support level there was the lowering support level, the trend was down, and you bought the support here, 1205 or what have you, and you're up, $9,000. Excellent. You're up to that $13 range. But again, like, just keep in mind, yeah, you can see a breakout, but that is the overall kind of trend over the last week right now. So that's kind of how it looks. So maybe it comes in tomorrow. We start to see markets rebound a little bit, just a temporary pullback. Excellent. Continue to ride that wave up. But just, yeah, friendly reminder. Glad you got that. So SoundHound is a top AI company we watch long term. They're really volatile short term. When it comes to some of these companies we covered today, it's really important to realize that AI is kind of like the internet, in 2000. It's the most innovative technology we've probably ever seen, and that's beautiful. A lot of people get scared though when it's a market that's at the top and then you see a recent correction like we've seen in the last 2 days. Most people see their portfolios dip a little bit last 2 days, but when it comes down to the value creation in the marketplace, it's really an unprecedented time in value creation. So I would say just keep that in mind. Know that these things move fast, and overall uptrends on most stocks are still holding above that 200-day moving average. So just something to keep in mind. If we see that SPY recover, wouldn't be surprised that we get a continued rally. But we did expect some corrections. It's what we can, we've been riding it the last 2 days. Now, this is where we get to determine how, the traders that win big stick to plans and make money and protect their risk and are able to develop the skills to make money in these times. And the difference between those and people that get kind of foggy and it's like, I don't really know what's going on, things like that. It's totally normal, but it's just coming down to oftentimes consistency in your plan. So having consistency in your plan is going to be and make all of the difference. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Hopefully I earned your thumbs up. If you'd like to join us in our daily live trading session, it's the second link down below for Stockmates. There is a unique sale there happening right now that is only until September 1st for the AI boom. And you get access to our daily live trading sessions along with the community there of like-minded investors, along with a free t-shirt that I'll send to you, or we'll send to you. My team will send it over to you. And hopefully I earned your thumbs up. Do consider subscribing. I'll see you in the next video. Take care, guys. Have a great rest of your evening.